Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. Patrick Zimu. I'm from the School of Health Sciences, discipline of Biokinetics, Exercise and Nature Sciences, and today I'm here to present on the topic, the application and the effectiveness of a Moodle workshop in promoting collaborative learning at UKZN during COVID-19. So what is Moodle? Moodle is a free and an open source system that is easily accessible to everyone here at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Moodle comes with many plug-in tools, such as the workshop tool. The workshop tool is a plugin that is embedded on Moodle that I strongly believe that it can be used to promote the pedagogy of collaborative learning. So what is collaborative learning? Collaborative learning, it is a student-centered approach. It is highly student-centered. It uses team-based learning, self-assessment, peer assessment to achieve learning outcomes. Collaborative learning ensures that students or learners create knowledge together and gain 21st century skills such as communication, critical thinking, decision-making, leadership, and conflict management. These are the skills that Prof. Blewett, in his active connected teaching, he calls them the millennial age survival skills. All our students should leave or exit the university with these skills for them to survive in the industry or for them to be able to make means of what they have learned from our universities. Higher education institutions, in the past 10 years, they have been pushing for student-centered learning to move away from the traditional didactic teacher-focused learning. Why is it so? Traditional instruction hardly improves students' understanding and appreciation in the subject. Even if the instruction includes demonstration, simulation, or computer-aided instructions, traditional instruction, it promotes surface learning, it promotes passive learning. And we are recommending that all our students start to embrace activated or active learning, which is something that you can easily achieve through student-centered learning approaches such as collaborative learning. Due to COVID-19, in 2020, we were all affected. Higher education institutions, they were forced to shift to digital spaces for teaching and learning. Academics had to embrace new spaces, new technologies, and new approaches to teaching. That came with many challenges, not only for students, but for instructors as well. There were many challenges that they faced, which included digital incompetence. It was difficult for the students because they lacked digital competence. It was difficult for the instructors because they also had minimal knowledge of digital tools that were available that we could use to promote our pedagogies and to promote our philosophies. And that was one challenge that we faced with to implement the emergency online learning. Interactivity was another challenge that we faced with. It was difficult for lecturers to interact with their students, and it was difficult for students to interact amongst each other. And as we all know, collaborative learning centers around the pedagogy of conversation, the pedagogy of correction, the pedagogy of sharing information. And if we could not interact between the teachers and the student, it made things very difficult for us to be able to take what we were doing in class and put it into an online system. And collaborative learning was very difficult to do. As a result, many academics or instructors changed their teaching style. They abandoned the collaborative learning. They abandoned the student-centered approaches and reverted back to what we call traditional or didactic learning, which, as we all know, it leads to passive learning, and it is not recommended to build a well-rounded student with all these millennial age survival skills that are so needed for them to be active at the world of work. So what is the purpose of this presentation? This presentation aims to describe the application of the Moodle Workshop plugin as it exists or with modification, and to discuss its effectiveness in supporting and enhancing the pedagogy of collaborative learning. And also, this is also to present students' reflection on the collaborative learning and the use of the workshop plugin. So what is the theoretical framework that underpins collaborative learning? The theoretical framework that underpins collaborative learning is constructivism. As we all know, this was made famous by the two well-known philosophers, that is Piaget and Vygotsky. They say learning is about building, it's about changing the existing meaning and knowledge structures in order to assimilate and accommodate new knowledge. They say at the center of teaching and learning, it should be the student. They say student should lead learning in their classroom. So this collaborative learning, it is centered under the theory of constructivism. So what is this workshop resource? Workshop resource, it is a standard plugin that comes with the base Moodle system. In the workshop resource, there are 5 phases. And in these 5 phases, students and instructors, they work interchangeably and collaboratively to get the assessment done. Many academics use workshop solely for an assessment purpose. But in my discipline, we have started to use workshop not only for assessment, but also for teaching and learning. How do we use this for teaching and learning? There are 5 phases on the workshop tool. The first phase is what we call a setup phase. In the setup phase, it allows the instructor to add instruction about the project. It allows the instructor to add information about the readings that students need to do. It also allows lecturers to even upload links whereby students can chat. One of the chat platform that we have used is MiniChat. So you put it there under the instructions and you allow the conversation to continue even after the classroom. The second phase is called the submission phase. This phase is predetermined. The date of the submission is predetermined by the instructor. The student would submit the work on this phase on the determined date. Once the work is submitted, the work is then assigned to other students for what we call peer assessment or peer evaluation, and that will be the third phase of the workshop resource. The fourth phase is what we call the grading evaluation phase. This is whereby the lecturer again take control of the whole assignment or the whole learning and try to check if the students have graded each other well, and if they feel there were problems with grading, they can then make changes by increasing the marks or decreasing the marks. And the last phase is what we call the closeout phase. Let me now just tell you about a project that we did in this semester, the first semester. This is what we call expert group project. So what we did, we gave students, we had 30 students, we divided into groups of 10, we gave them 3 different topics, and they needed to be expert in those topics. So we gave them different readings to read and to comment and to question, and then they needed to then submit within the group. The within group submission, it was an individual work whereby the students within the group, they will submit to each other, assess each other. Once that process is complete, that workshop process is complete, student would then be given a chance again to then submit the work, but for the whole class evaluation. So what it means is that you would work in the group, help each other to come up with this presentation, have the voiceovers in that presentation, submit amongst yourself, give yourself feedback. Once that is done, you go back and you correct, and then you submit on the workshop for the whole class evaluations. So students from the other group will appraise the work from the other group. So we created what we call the visible groups. At the end of the day, all the students will receive 2 marks from the 2 students that evaluated them. That is the submission mark and also the assessment mark. The marks will move straight into the student gradebook on Learn. Student, the submission mark, which is the mark that is given by the 2 peers or the weighted marks of the 2 peers, and the assessment mark, which is the mark that is given by the instructor or the lecturer of the module. These marks will be combined and it will give the final mark to the student. So this makes things easier for the lecturers as well. We then compared within and between group peer evaluation marks to see if there were any changes, to see if there was any improvement. And we found out that students performed well after they had submitted the first workshop mark. They performed well when they evaluated by their peers in the whole class submission and peer evaluation. So workshop assignment enhanced student-centeredness teaching. Workshop greatly enhanced efficiency for the teacher. Workshop assignment promoted collaborative learning through group discussions that we had, through peer evaluations and sharing of projects. Workshop promoted knowledge sharing, communication, critical thinking, knowledge construction, reflective thinking, and peer assessment. And these are the skills that we want our students to exit with. Some of the students' reflection is that the workshop worked very much better after having to read and summarize it for the slides. Students, they also said assessing was giving them a mark, so that was pushing them to read and understand and be patient with the readings that they were doing. Some of the students, they said this gave each and everyone an opportunity to learn about different topics by going through their peers' work. So it promoted deep learning, it promoted sharing of information, and that's what collaborative learning is all about. They also said this learning assessment method is very effective, as it gives them a chance to go and read on their own and find information about the module without the lecturer telling them everything. They say it really improved their knowledge and interest in learning. So students do not only want to be given information by the lecturers, but they enjoy to go and search for information, curate and create, come up with presentations and submit and peer assess each other. They found this workshop activity as effective. And most of them, in other reflections, they said they enjoyed the whole workshop activity. So there's a need to promote the use of workshop tool in the institution of higher learning so that we can promote collaborative learning pedagogy. COVID-19 has served as a catalyst for educational change, and we need not to look back. Workshop is one Moodle plugin that breaks the classroom walls and allows us to put the pedagogy first in our teaching. Workshop activity, through various assessment tasks and different models, supports collaborative learning, active learning, and reflective practice and peer review. I thank you.